After being hit by a truck and dying, a hopeless and jobless Japanese man reincarnates into a fantasy-like world as Rudeus, son of the swordsman Paul Greyrat and his wife, the healer Zenith. Keeping his memories of his previous life, Rudeus quickly learns to read and eventually starts practicing magic. Noticing his aptitude, Rudeus' parents hire the adventurer Roxy Migurdia as his magic teacher. Roxy has some doubts at first about tutoring him due to his tender age until she witnesses his unique ability to cast magic instantly and realizes his potential. As the Greyrat family gives a welcome party to Roxy, Rudeus vows to work hard to improve himself and make proper use of the second chance he was given to have a happy and fulfilling life. Rudeus reminisces about his past life when he was expelled from home and was hit by the truck that killed him while attempting to save some teenagers. He spends the next months training in magic with Roxy until the day of his 5-year-old birthday party, when Roxy declares that she has nothing more to teach him and will hold his graduation exam. The next day, Rudeus leaves his home for the first time accompanied by Roxy. He gets distressed over his past trauma when he was severely bullied by his classmates in school that led to him become recluse, but he ends up overcoming it once realizing how Roxy blended well with the villagers, despite all the prejudice she usually suffers due to her foreign traits. In the exam, Rudeus manages to summon a massive thunderstorm and Roxy declares that he passed. Roxy then departs to continue her journey and Rudeus thanks her for everything she has done for him. After losing his fear of leaving his home thanks to Roxy, Rudeus starts playing outdoors by himself until he rescues a half-elf child called Sylph from a group of bullies. Sylph becomes friends with Rudeus and starts learning magic from him. 6 months later, Rudeus brings Sylph home during a storm and after taking away her clothes by force so that they can have a bath, he discovers that she is actually a girl and her full name is Sylphiette. Despite Rudeus apologizes to Sylphiette, she starts avoiding him, much to his chagrin. Sometime later, Sylphiette approaches Rudeus and the two make up with Rudeus determined to cherish the first true friend he has made in his new life. The Greyrat family is at joy when they learn that Zenith is pregnant again, but their happiness is cut short when their maid Lilia reveals that she is also pregnant after having an affair with Paul. To protect Lilia from Zenith's wrath, Rudeus convinces his mother to forgive her by having Paul take all the blame for the incident, despite realizing that she was the one who seduced him, which earns him Lilia's gratitude and loyalty. Zenith and Lilia give birth to 2 girls called Norm and Aisha respectively, and Rudeus considers leaving to study at the Runo Magic Academy after receiving a letter from Roxy, but Sylphiette does not want to part ways with him, and he decides to look for a job to pay for their tuition. However, certain that Rudeus' attachment to Sylphiette is hindering his growth, his parents decide to separate them by entrusting their son to an old friend of the family, the beast woman Ghislaine, who leaves the village with him. As Ghislaine takes Rudeus away, he reads a letter from Paul explaining that he found a tutoring job for him to pay for his and Sylphiette's studies, but certain that his attachment to Sylphiette is hindering his development, Paul forbids him from returning home or meeting her for the next 5 years. In the city of Ro, Rudeus meets his employer, Philip Eris Greyrat, who is also the mayor and his father's cousin, and is tasked to teach Philip's daughter Eris. However, once Rudeus is introduced to Eris, she acts hostile towards him. Certain that Eris will not listen to him at all, Rudeus comes with a plan to earn her trust by faking their kidnapping with her father's consent. Rudeus and Eris are captured, and after earning her cooperation, he uses his powers to escape their captors with her. Back in Ro, Rudeus discovers that their kidnapping was not fake and one of Philip's servants is working with the kidnappers. Rudeus fights the bandits to protect Eris until Ghislaine comes to their rescue, killing them and arresting the servant. Once they return home, Eris accepts Rudeus as her tutor, and he begins living in her house. Philip thanks Rudeus for protecting Eris and warns him to not reveal to anyone his connections with the Greyrat family or he may be targeted again. Since then, Ghislaine teaches swordsmanship to Eris and Rudeus, while Rudeus teaches magic, literacy, and math to both. However, Eris usually skips classes out of boredom and Rudeus decides to give her 1 day off per week to encourage her. While taking a stroll in the city, Eris attempts to buy Rudeus an expensive book, but he refuses, claiming that she can't give presents to others without her own money, and suggests her father to give her an allowance. With her allowance, Eris presents Rudeus with a vial he was previously interested in, which puts him in a pinch as he is in fear of revealing to her and Ghislaine that it is in fact an aphrodisiac. With the approaching date of Eris' 10th birthday party, Rudeus allows her dance teacher to take some time from his schedule to have her improve, while he makes use of the extra time to learn other languages. Despite that, Eris barely improves her dancing and considers giving up, but Rudeus encourages her to continue and starts helping with her lessons. As Rudeus improves on his foreign language skills with Ghislaine and Roxy's help, Eris barely improves her dancing at all, and on the day of the party, she fails to dance with another noble. Rudeus steps in and successfully dances with Eris after instructing her to incorporate some of her fighting skills in her moves. After the party, Rudeus meets Eris' grandfather Soros, who sees a strange ball of light in the sky and fears it could be an ominous sign. 2 years later, Eris and her family hold a birthday party for Rudeus, who is disappointed at first that his own family could not attend due to the increase of monster activity around the country. Rudeus is presented with a top-quality magic staff, and Philip expresses his will to have Rudeus marry Eris and become his successor, but Rudeus rejects the offer. Later that night, Rudeus is surprised to see Eris waiting in his room. He then attempts to have sex with her, but she pushes him away. Realizing his mistake, Rudeus apologizes to Eris, who forgives him. A few days later, a huge cloud of mana forms in the sky, and the legendary hero Perugius Dole sends his aide Almenfi to investigate. Suspicious that Rudeus, who was practicing with his new staff alongside Eris and Ghislaine, could be involved with the cloud's appearance, Almenfi attacks him, but Ghislaine defends Rudeus and confirms his innocence when a massive burst of light envelops them. Looking like his past self, Rudeus has a short encounter with an elusive being known as the Human God, who instructs him to rely on and help the man who saved him. He then awakens in his current body and learns that he and Eris are stranded in the middle of the demon continent and were rescued by Rudeus Superdia, a member of the dreaded Superd race, who becomes their friend and promises to escort them back home. Rudeus brings Rudeus and Eris to a nearby village that coincidentally is Roxy's birthplace, where they meet her parents. During their stay, Rudeus learns from Rudeus that his tribe's ill repute comes from the cursed spears they received from the demon god Laplace, which turned them into mindless murderers, and that the spear in his possession belonged to his son, whose death by his hands made him recover his senses. Moved by Rudeus' determination to clear his race's name, Rudeus decides to help him, and the two depart from the village with Eris to begin their journey back home. Rudeus, Eris, and Rudeus arrive at the city of Rikarizu. To have Rudeus enter the city without trouble, Rudeus dyes his hair and has him pretend to be a member of the Migurdia tribe. The three become an official group of adventurers, but their novice status prevents them from taking quests that pay well enough for them to make ends meet. By the human god's suggestion, Rudeus accepts a quest to look for a lost pet, which leads them to another group of adventurers who kidnap pets to get the bounty for finding them. After the kidnappers are defeated, Rudeus attempts to interrogate them, but is hit by one of them, which leads Rudeus to kill him instantly. Rudeus reprimands Rudeus for it and forbids him from killing unless in self-defense. Taking advantage of the kidnappers' higher rank, Rudeus and co. get the chance of taking more rewarding jobs while improving their own party's reputation. After the mana surge in Fitoa, Roxy begins looking for news about Rudeus and his family. Aside from Paul and Norn, all members of the Greyrat family are missing. Meanwhile, to accomplish a quest, Rudeus' party look for a mysterious monster in the middle of a forest. They encounter two other parties also searching for the monster. One of the parties is ambushed by monsters, but Rudeus decides to wait before attacking, which ends with one of the adventurers being killed. The monster they are looking for attacks and kills the other party before it is slain by Rudeus and co. Back at Rikarizu, Rudeus is approached by another adventurer, who discovers his scheme and attempts to blackmail him. Moved by Rudeus' resolve to protect Eris, Rudeus drops his disguise, revealing himself as a Supart, and threatens to kill the adventurer should he reveal their secret. After leaving the city, Rudeus reconciles with Rudeus. Rudeus keeps traveling with Eris and Rudeus all the way to a coastal city on the edge of the demon continent, unaware that Roxy is also arriving at the continent to look for him, accompanied by two of Paul's former companions. And that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, then make sure to drop a like and hit that subscribe button. Now I'll see you in the next one.